Good morning, everybody. I'm fresh off of American Family Radio, substituting for Jenna Ellis this morning. And one would think, would you not, that after an hour-long radio program that I would come on and do a very abbreviated program for you. And who knows, maybe, maybe. I know I'm headed to visit with my granddaughter tomorrow, so this is the last day this week I'll be on with you also. I want to make the most of the time we've got. I want to remind you all, probably tell you for the first time, that on Saturday and Sunday, July 6th and 7th, I'll be preaching at Grace Church. It's near St. Louis. It's actually in Maryland Heights, Missouri, but I'll be preaching there on Saturday night at 6 o'clock and Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So I hope that all of you in the area, all of you who are watching me from that area will come and join in. And pastor there is a wonderful, great man of God, Pastor Wes Martin. I'll be fellowshipping with him and his wonderful congregation. So come on out and be a part of it. I'm sure that you will enjoy it. You'll have a great time. Also want to remind you that we are working very, very hard at STAND. We just came out of our STAND Awards dinner. It was a tremendous success. We're working very, very hard to try to help save this country. And so I hope that you all will see fit to support us. Those of you who have not yet signed on, maybe as a Patriot Partner, as little as $5 a month. You can sign on as a Patriot Partner. We're trying to get to 500 Patriot Partners this year. My goal really is 1,000, but I'm trying to do it incrementally. Somebody stood up at the dinner and said, we want to sign up 100 more. And that would be wonderful to sign up 100 more. I'd like to sign up about 250 more, get to 500, and then start moving from 500 more toward 1,000. We'll get there. In the name of Jesus, we will get there. But, you know, I just want to invite you to take advantage of that opportunity. StandAmerica.us is the website, StandAmerica.us. Look, I want to talk today about crime, but before I get into that, I didn't do this with my radio audience, so I'm going to give you something I didn't give to them. I want to first comment on the debate coming up on 27th. And no criticism of Donald Trump intended, because Donald Trump is, as far as I'm concerned, is a master of debate. And I think he will wipe the floor with Joe Biden. But why in the world are they doing a debate with CNN and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash as moderators? I mean, Jake Tapper is a confirmed, blatant, wild, crazy leftist. I don't know what the reasoning is there. I'm sure probably, my guess is, probably figure if Trump shines in the midst of that, who knows, maybe he wins over some of those leftists who watch the Communist News Network. I guess. But I don't understand it. I really don't. I think these debates should be moderated by people who are moderate. And by moderate, I mean, that doesn't mean they don't have their own opinions, their own ideas, but because they are journalists, they remain neutral in the debate and try to always give both sides of an issue and to give people a chance to hear both sides of an issue. Jake Tapper is a leftist. I don't know this woman Dana Bash, but if she's with the Communist News Network, she's a leftist too. They're all leftists over there. Even their so-called conservatives are leftists over there. They don't have anybody over there who speaks with any kind of common sense or biblical wisdom or understanding or godliness. I mean, they're reprobates. That's probably the best way to describe them. They're reprobates. Why in the world, he's subjecting himself to them? I do not know, but I'm sure he's got a good reason. But I just thought I would point out to all of you that it eludes me, frankly. It eludes me. Say, well, I mean, there's another way to do this, by the way. The other way to do it would be to have one Jake Tapper and then a Tucker Carlson or I'm trying to think who else fits or Sean Hannity. So basically, you don't have moderators that are pretending to be neutral. You've got moderators representing two very different points of view that are going to ask different kinds of questions. But, each side will at least get challenged, and each side will at least have an opportunity to present their point of view with at least one friendly moderator involved in the process. But when you got two lefties from the Communist News Network, I don't know how that's supposed to be fair. But anyway, just thought I'd point that out. Am I going to watch the debate? Probably. Just to see former President Trump deal with Joe Biden, probably. I'm not excited about it because of these moderators. If I start watching it and all it does is just make me angry, I'll just quit. Because these people don't even have any pretense of objectivity anymore. Look, I understand, nobody is completely objective, okay? You're not, I'm not, I don't even pretend to be. I pretend to be an advocate, I am an advocate for truth. I'm not pretending to be. I am an advocate for truth. And to me, truth is reality. Truth is objectivity. So I am objective in that, from my perspective. But those who disagree with me would say, well, no, you're not, because you have a particular point of view, and that renders you non-objective. Okay, all right, I understand that perspective. But a journalist is supposed to say, yeah, I do have my point of view, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of trying to relate to everybody and trying to elicit information for everybody, okay? So that means I'm going to ask good, solid, challenging questions to Donald Trump. I'm going to ask good, solid, challenging questions to Joe Biden. And my own particular bias for one or the other is not going to get in the way of me trying to solicit from them information, or elicit from them information that the American people, the audience, is going to find helpful. That's the professional attitude. That's the way it ought to be, but that's not the way it is. And I just figured Jake Tapper is just going to use this as an opportunity to expose he wants to be a dictator and he's a terrible person and he's a, I mean, who knows what all runs through this man's mind, because they're all warped. They're all warped. But at any rate, I just thought I'd bring that out. So just be prepared for that, because that's what you've got coming. Because basically you're going to have 3 against 1. Joe Biden, Jake Tapper, and Dana Bash against President Donald Trump. That's really what it's going to boil down to, 3-1. If anybody can handle it, he can. Now, the thing that's uppermost in my mind to talk about today, though, is the crime situation. And what prompted this is really 2 things. One is this poor woman, 5 children, Rachel Morin, who was murdered by this illegal immigrant in Maryland. Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, 23 years old, illegally crossed into our country in 2023. Wanted for homicide in El Salvador. Now charged with the rape and murder of Rachel Morin. And by the way, he's a gang member. And caught on tape, engaged in a home invasion, I believe in Los Angeles, in a home invasion. Just a bad actor. And I got to thinking about that, and then coupled with the Secret Service agent who gets robbed right outside of Los Angeles, just a few miles apparently from where Joe Biden was meeting with the hoi polloi of Hollywood, George Clooney and you name it, all these, Barack Obama, because Barack Obama is nothing but a diva, and then Joe Biden looking like he doesn't even know where he is. It's sad. But Secret Service agent was robbed at gunpoint. At gunpoint. What's this little? In fact, this is what is amazing. A little place called Tustin, 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 California, which is a suburb and apparently a residential community. You don't think of places like that as being places where Secret Service agents are going to be robbed. And if I'm not mistaken, I think this happened in broad daylight. Well, actually, no. It was 9:36 p.m., but still. 9:36 p.m. You just don't think of things like that happening in places like Tustin. You don't think, oh, yeah, Tustin's a big crime area. But at this point, folks, it's spread everywhere. Everywhere. And, it'll be interesting to see. A lot of this stuff that's happening is illegal immigration that's driving it. As I just read an article today, 2/3 of federal criminal arrests are illegal immigrants now. 2/3. And then we're not talking about arrests for illegally crossing the border, because we don't arrest people for that anymore. 2/3 of federal criminal arrests are of illegal immigrants. And we're talking about, therefore, arrests for kidnapping, murder that involves some kind of federal jurisdiction, bank robbery, or attacking some kind of federal facility or a federal officer. I mean, there's certain things you got to do to come under the aegis of the federal police, which is the FBI. But they're apparently doing it. 2/3. We really need to have somebody, and I can't do it, that's just not in my wheelhouse, but somebody needs to keep track of the number of Americans being murdered by illegal immigrants. But that's something we all need to know. I think the number is probably staggering. Because look, we've got 7 million illegal immigrants in the country that have passed through the border. 7 million. I'm not talking about gotaways. I'm talking about 7 million. Every ICE agent has a case file of 7,000 illegal immigrants. 7,000. Which, of course, is a joke. They can't keep up with these people. I just read a story earlier today, this morning, in preparation for my programs, that talked about MS-13 killing a 2-year-old boy because they decided to have a shootout over something with some rival gang, and a 2-year-old in Texas happened to be in the crossfire, and his mother was injured, and he was murdered. 2 years old. And look, those stories, you could just roll out one after another of what illegal immigration is doing to increase crime in our country. I mean, here's just a smattering of them. Alexis Saborit from Cuba beheaded his girlfriend with a machete. Francisco Oropeza, deported 4 times in the last 14 years, gunned down 5 Honduran immigrants. 5 people murdered, including, by the way, an 8-year-old. Brian Marquez, under deportation orders, brutally murdered his roommate by beating him to death. Jose Hernandez had 5 counts of indecency with a minor after allegedly sexually assaulting a young child multiple times. Gene McKean, illegal alien posed as an unaccompanied minor and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for murdering a Daytona Beach couple. Posing as a minor. He wasn't a minor. He's a murderer. By the way, he had been arrested multiple times. Those charges against him had been dropped by George Soros-backed Florida State Attorney Aramis Ayala. And I could go on with these. But nobody is, just like our America's Forgotten Children, we did that because nobody was connecting the dots. Nobody's connecting the dots on these. Nobody's saying, well, wait a minute, how many of these are there? I really believe this stuff is epidemic. Crime is just out of control. It'll be interesting to see whether the person who shot the Secret Service agent is an illegal immigrant, or shot at, because they apparently had a shootout. The Secret Service agents believe he wounded the guy, but he didn't get wounded himself, because he was robbed at gunpoint. So, of course, he pulled his service weapon. By the way, California has a 10-round magazine rule. So no matter what you are carrying in California, you can't have more than 10 rounds in your weapon. I'm partial to Glocks, and the Glock 17 holds 17. Yeah, Glock 17 holds 17 rounds plus one of the chambers. That's a total of 18 rounds. The Glock 19 holds 15 rounds in the magazine and one in the chamber. That's 16 rounds. Even the Glock 21, which fires 45s, the 17 and the 19 fire 9 millimeters. But the Glock 21 fires 45s, and 45s are big rounds. But even the Glock 21 magazine holds 13 rounds plus one in the chamber. So with a total of 14 rounds for 45. But in California, all of those weapons that are made to carry that many rounds can only carry 10. I bought guns that had to be shipped through California, and when they come to you, the magazines that come with the guns have 10-round magazines. When you're in a situation like that Secret Service agent was in, how many rounds do you need? You just don't know. You just don't know. Because you don't, you know, thank God I've never had to I didn't see combat in the military, and I've never had to pull a weapon on anybody with the intent of harming them, and I've certainly never fired at anybody or been fired upon. But I have had some dynamic gun training, okay? I always say I'm not an expert, but I would consider myself to be at least an intermediate. I'm not a beginner. I'm not a novice. You learn in dynamic training that, you know, all these little cute ideas about, well, shoot him in the leg, and you know, why did you have to shoot him 10 times? Because in dynamic situations where you are in danger and the adrenaline is pumping, and what you are trying to do is save your life or the lives of others, you don't stop firing, and you don't count the rounds, and you don't stop firing until the danger has passed. Right? I mean, that's what you're trained to do. That's really, in my view, probably the natural human instinct. You don't shoot one round. Oh, did I hurt you? Did I hit you? Because for one thing, folks, you don't even know necessarily that you hit your target in a dynamic situation like that. So what do? You keep firing until you know that the danger is absolutely subdued, which means the person has gone down, or the person is no longer moving, or what have you. That's how you can end up with 10 rounds, 12 rounds fired at a person. But this idea, like you shoot one round, you try to shoot him in the leg, and then you stop to see, are you okay? Are you ready to quit? I mean, but that's another matter. The way the Democrat Party and the left are trying to design our country, redesign it, is everything for the criminal, every advantage to the criminal, every privilege to the criminal, and every disadvantage to the law-abiding citizen, to the American people. Every disadvantage. See, because they're coming from a Marxist point of view, or from their point of view, we're the problem. Society is the problem. Not the person committing the crime, but society. So let's not punish the person who committed the crime. Let's reform society. Let's fundamentally transform the United States of America. And look, the question I posed on the radio program today, and I'll pose to you, is this. Because, you know, Biden can talk about, I mean, I think somebody actually said, Biden has caused the lowest crime rate, one of the lowest crime rates in the history of the country. I think to myself, what? That's like saying inflation's under control and people ought to be rejoicing for the great economy. And you're thinking, well, you can say that, but that's not what people are experiencing. I mean, I've got church members who've lost relatives in violent inner city confrontations that people have had. This stuff is close to home, folks. This is not some academic stuff where I'm reading a manual and somebody's instructing me on some of the rare events that happen in the inner city. This stuff is coming home to all of us now. And the question that I posed is, and I pose to you, is it changing the way you think and changing your behavior? Because I have to tell you, it has mine. Because I found myself more on guard and more aware of crime. Now, I don't walk in fear and I don't walk in paranoia, but I'm more on guard and more aware of crime and criminality than I've ever been before. I mean, let me give you one example. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you know, you have people coming to your home to do repairs, coming to your home for for deliveries, a variety of different things, and you don't even give it a second thought. I'm not like that now. Because, see, I know now that many companies have stopped doing background checks. Yeah, they don't do background checks on their employees. And they're hiring people who may have a background in violent criminal behavior. And a person can be working for a company. I don't mean to make you paranoid either, but let's just be honest here. And obviously this is not the majority. It's not even, you know, probably more in the vicinity of a rarity, okay? Probably. But when you're not doing background checks and it's considered to be discriminatory to do background checks because you might find out that a black person has been to prison. You might find out that he robbed or raped or murdered somebody. Well, too bad. I mean, it doesn't have, I don't mean to harp on skin color, it's just that more murders and violent crimes are being committed by black men than by any other demographic. But that doesn't mean white people, white guys of European backgrounds don't commit crimes too, because they do. And they're dangerous too. But I can't tell you how many times, and they don't make much of these stories, that somebody legitimately working for a particular company, wearing a uniform, is exposed to somebody's home or exposed to a woman in the home and decides it's an opportunity to become the predator again. And they use the information that they gather to exploit that situation. I mean, folks, BTK had been a burglar alarm installer. And that was how he cased some of the homes that he went after. So, whereas there was a time I wouldn't have given a second thought, now I do. And so, for example, I have friends who do the same thing. I don't want packages delivered to my home. I have a virtual address because I don't want people knowing where I live. I mean, obviously, my friends can know, my church members know, but I don't want everybody knowing where I live. I didn't think about that. I didn't think that way, again, 10, 15 years ago. But I realize now we're living in an era where crime often rules the day. And when you got like this Prop 47 out in California, because I don't live in California, but that mindset, well, they didn't steal more than $950, so it's not that big a deal. He just resisted the cop a little bit, but he didn't hurt him. Not that big a deal. Really? Look, I say be ye therefore ready. Be ready, because each of us is responsible for protecting our lives and the lives of our loved ones. And folks, there is no getting around that. You can't simply depend upon the police or depend upon law enforcement. And some people are in a position where they don't have any choice because they're just not in that, they're not capable of defending themselves. Maybe they're old, they're infirm, or whatever. But if you are, I really believe the buck stops here. And that the ultimate responsibility for the defense of your life, your home, your property, the lives of your loved ones